Tell me what you think, Yorkie. You think it's terrible? Is it horrible?
Hello. So, I mentioned this in Discord, but today you could see Victor's sandals in just like a bag. This is how we live. So today, maybe I could like do this. No, there's no way to get rid of it. I had a migraine last night, and so I slept at Doom Piles, the ADHD Doom Pile. So I slept in a little bit and woke up, since I've been super addicted, played some RimWorld, and then was like, I don't think I want to play anymore. I'm gonna go live life like an adult. Only to find out it was 7 o'clock. So we're starting a little late. I was like, oh shit, it's time for work. I guess I do have to go live life like an adult. So yesterday was a model of how we're going to be handling Hollow Knight until I finish the rest of my Hollow Knight goals, which are Eternal Order, Night King Grim, and maybe Radiance. It depends on my overall skill level. But, and that is an hour to an hour and a half of Hollow Knight, and then switching to another game, another headliner. So we're going to be going back to 9 Years of Shadows later on tonight, as that is our official headliner. Hollow Knight is our guest star of Hildy's Stubbornness. Part of this is because I'm burning out on the game, and if I want to do these things while I still have the skills, I have to do it in smaller measures. The other part is I gained a lot of viewers during Hollow Knight, and I would like them to see me playing other games just to see if they still like me instead of just disappearing when I'm done. And the third part is there were some not so subtle hints from people that they were done with Hollow Knight. Them. So I think it's time. Current events are terrible, awful, no good, very bad, except that Tulsa, Oklahoma, of all places, just recalled all of their local senators because Google was going to build an AI data center right in the center of their farmland. And they said, fuck no. AI data centers ruin almost everything, destroy the environment. Oh, I didn't yet. I think. Well, okay, are you talking? Hold on. I gotta double check if there's a new one. Oh, yeah, there is new. Okay. So, Democrat Emily Gregory flipped Florida House District 87, which I mentioned yesterday is about Mar-a-Lago. So Mar-a-Lago is now under the control of a Democrat. The bigger deal about this is that HD87 has never voted blue. Ever. Like, ever. Literally, it's considered ruby red. Trump voted by mail today? Really? There's nothing real in this world. Nothing real in this world. Oh, and also Meta tried to keep it on the down low that they were building a data center for themselves out in Lebanon. You know, that just finished having a 4-year civil/genocidal war. I feel like if you walk up to a desert and say, here's a glass of water, you just have to let me make your desert like you kill all the cactus that you use for food. I feel like the people who are dying of hydration in the desert are going to take the glass of water. So these people, Meta, knowing that they're a glass of water to a war-torn and destroyed country, leave their lights on all night, never stop construction, and have actively turned away people asking them to stop and to let them sleep. Facebook is a loss leader, so if you still use Facebook, I don't really care because you're costing Zuckerberg money. But buying anything from Meta otherwise, like, y'all, we should be way past that. Bezos sucks, but not nearly like this. Yeah, psychological warfare, isn't it cute? Love it. Especially because Lebanon is not necessarily pro-Israel. Oh. Once again, I am Jewish! Yes, I could still be a self-hating anti-Semite, but I promise you I'm not. I just really fucking hate warmongers of any creed. Speaking of warmongers, Zote's a fucking warmonger, so let's go kill Zote!
Tell me what you think, Yorkie. You think it's terrible? Is it horrible?
Is it, Yorkie? I'm like what would you call me? Well, actually, no. The joke I was gonna make is that Zote is like the Rush Limbaugh of the Hollow Knight universe. Whenever someone succeeds at war, he's like, heck yeah! But then if you ask him to, like, I know you can't see me right now, I have to switch cameras. If you ask him to, like, go do something real with his life, he's like, oh, I'll just go over here. Don't worry about it. Why don't you go to war, Rush Limbaugh? I already did. No, you didn't, Zote. You never went to war. Shut the fuck up. Right. For sake of argument, and because I know I've been able to do it the whole time, you actually are allowed to do this. Well, there actually is a place, ow, fine, where you can go fill up your soul meter before you even go to battle. It's just such a pain in the ass to get to from Zote. But I might as well for the first try. Excuse me, pardon me. Oof. Nice, warm milk jacuzzi. I think that was actually a thing for a while in the 40s and 50s, milk baths. Victor says it was. It was very weird. Thank you. To keep your skin baby butt smooth, milk. The real controversy was when they started using breast milk for the rich. That's how it stopped. I'll see myself out. I just can't let anything be not weird anymore. Ayalu changed me for the rest of my life. I was talking with Victor after playing Ayalu last night, and I was like, this game is definitely by vegans. 100%. Either vegans or, you know, ethical meat eaters like Megan and folks like that, because this mouse dies in the most horrific and realistic ways in this game, and it's like so merciless. and the mouse is portrayed in like a real fucking mouse. It does nothing but what real mice do. And I was like, yup, this is telling you you're a terrible person for killing mice. Because the things that kill it are human hands. Like, there are human hands that bring the objects that murder the mice. This game is a stop-motion game. Megan's like, I do what I can. That's really, well, that's what ethical meat eating is. You just do what you, oh, you bastard. You just do what you can. But, like, this game, like, is all stop-motion. And the mouse is the most adorable little cardboard mouse. It's like a bunch of cardboard glued together with like thin wood paneling on the outside and a little copper wire tail. And all it's trying to do is get cheese, which is just a little fucking wedge of wood painted neon orange. And these hands, anytime you do something that is somewhat irregular to a mouse, I was paying attention to my health. These hands come by and murder the shit out of you. It's fucking tragic. Yeah, they did, and it's like all of the environments are cardboard boxes, and they use like just minimal stuff to make it look like the backyard biome is someone's green kitchen tile with little plastic trees every once in a while. And it's set up like a scientist's maze. So with puzzles that when you solve them, you get cheese. So there's no way that this wasn't by a posse of vegans. Oh my God, it's such a good game. It's on sale during the Steam sale for like $1. I did mildly lose my mind at some point in it because it creates the tension so well about whether something's coming for you that I was convinced the cheese that you eat regens, right? So I was convinced that at some point something would come get me if I kept eating the cheese, right? I mean, I thought it would be poisoned or they'd put a cup around me or something, right? So I just kept eating the cheese. And Megan knows this about me. I'm always writing a story. So I started going down the path of it's always been cheese, it never not was cheese, and like just fell into a trance, clicking cheese. So much cheese that I had 4 pieces before I started doing it, and I was able to order open a 40 cheese door afterwards. And each cheese eating takes like 50 seconds, so it was easily 30 minutes of clicking on cheese, waiting. The only thing I can like link it to is like in the Stanley Parable, where you literally don't know how long you have to be somewhere before like something happens. And I stood in the closet for 20 minutes yelling at it. I was like, come get me, bitch. Whatever. I'm not going to listen to you. You told me to leave the closet. Fuck off. And I just sat there. Yeah. Words I say for this game can't do the experience of playing it justice. Hearing me say it won't even spoil it, but watching it, I think you can't necessarily, like, I don't know if you'll have the same experience, Zem. Because once you see it, I think the impact of just being this little mouse that the world fucking hates because you're a mouse kind of fades away. It's not as shocking. The reason I played Ealu instead of 9 Years of Shadows was fucking Tony goes, too baked to play this. And it's, I started playing it, got it at the Steam sale, I'm too baked. But you should play this game. I clicked on something, and it did something a game shouldn't do. And now I'm stressed. And I said, okay. That sounds up my alley, because Tony and I are the bizarre game players. And, like, there are games that have 20 reviews, and Tony and I are 2 of them. So, I was like, yeah, this is right up our... Of course I'll do this. One of which has been streamed, actually. And of course, reviews don't actually mean how many people played it, but 20 reviews usually says something. There's a game called Qualia, for instance. We are one of, I think, 100 people who have recommended. Do Petiro naman na want to do them? Ooh. I have no idea what you just said to me, but I think that is Spanish? German? Japanese? Oh, actually probably is... Have a good lurk, Vic. Oh my god. Oh. I was like, what is this language? Da, 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 da. Hi, Calumet. How are you today? Ow. I'll just heal right where I'm about to get hit. That's fine. Everything's fine. We were talking about Hildy Bingo yesterday. And was like, cunt, it's just the free space in the center of my bingo board. And everything's fine, or it's fine. It's like working double. When I first started, I actually was working on making a Hildy Bingo because someone had made that joke right off the bat. I was far too predictable. I believe fully. Now I'm fully certain that Zote is the Rush Limbaugh of this universe. Tony should play Yesterday and Yesterday Origin. I will tell him so. Oh, and okay, so Yesterday. By the way, Megan, what is your favorite point and click? I told Zem asked about favorite point and clicks last night, and I said, I'm not the person. This isn't my genre usually. I'm Monkey Island. Okay. I'm given these. You know, like, I enjoy them, but other people are the ones buying them. Legend of Deponia. I was gonna guess Deponia. I said Broken Age. Yeah, I played Deponia. And I was gonna guess Deponia because of how much you really wanted me to play it. Yeah. I realized what I think Tony would say. I think Tony would say The Drifter. And I think he would say it not because it's a newer game or anything. He would say Monkey Island otherwise. I think he would say it because he once told me, do not take Monkey Island's name in slander. Tony! He would, yeah. I think he would because The Drifter does a lot about reinventing point-and-click controls on the Steam Deck, and its art is really good. I'll let Tony type out the rest, but he really, really turned me on to The Drifter, and I could only play a little bit because of how the story is and how the controls work. I wanted to do it live, so I only played a little bit of it. But I think Tony would say The Drifter or Monkey Island. And you could see how similar our tastes are because he appeared and said he would. I couldn't watch and LucasArts. I couldn't. So Oddish was doing Monkey Island, and I could not watch it because I knew that if I did not play Monkey Island blind, you and Megan would kill me. So I was pretending I was gonna stream it really soon, but the truth was I was just I'm gonna get murdered by 2 of my best friends. Tony would be upset because I had slandered it previously. I was like, what are all these fucking things? Because I was looking at the Freddy fish. I was complaining about Freddy fish, and I was like, there's Freddy fish. And then, Megan, check it out. People in chat defended the shit out of Freddy fish, and then they said, shut up, Hildy. You have no sense of sentiment. They said, does she have Skyfox? And I said, yes. And they were like, she's the shit. And they asked about Pajama Sam. And I was like, fuck.
Now displaying a message for YouTube.
Thanks, Trixie. I just missed this whole part of like your youth, apparently. your younger millennial youth. And they were like, yeah, don't shit on our parade. So, there's that. I am a closed-minded game asshole, apparently. But I want Tony to tell you about the Drifter. I hope he takes the time to type that out. But yeah, I was like, and then there's like, I was like making the list and I was like, there's all these point and clicks. They're so hard to stream. They're so hard to stream. What the fuck is even Monkey Island? And Tony said, do not. Do not. I played Grim Fandango also on Megan's recommendation and enjoyed it. Megan, meet Zem. Zem, meet Megan. You both have a deep, deep passion for point and clicks. Also meet Tony, who does as well. This corner of the video game universe is inhabited. Yeah. Megan, I pretty much have only played point and clicks that either I found when I was younger, or Megan showed me. And now that Tony showed me. And soon that Zem showed me. Oh, that was a good run. That was a good run. The floor was really lava for a while. That was dope. Putt-Putt saves the zoo. Yup. Actually, I looked up Putt-Putt Saves the Zoo, and I was kind of excited for it. It looks really cute. Yeah, it looks like the kind of thing that you're gonna have fun doing. You're gonna get every answer right, and you're gonna do it in like an hour or so, but it just looked like cute. But I was taught not to be a judgy bitch. I was taught by my very millennial audience. They said, don't do that. And I said, got it. Here I was, thinking I wasn't that judgmental. Just a little bit, but I was a lot of it. Oh, you son of a bitch. Yes. Yes. I think the older games, that is the big deal, is there's just a bunch of stuff. Yeah, because there's all this stuff that, like, is meant to teach you something. Like, you click on a zebra and it makes a noise, and now you know that zebras do that whoa, 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 instead of, like, a normal horse whinny, right? And then you're sort of stuck with... Then you're sort of stuck with, a lot of pieces that seem like they should matter and they don't. Yeah, Skyfox was for older kids. Well, Skyfox was made in such a way that it wasn't just for older kids. I feel like Skyfox was like Crash Bandicoot, where it was for radical teens, right? And so Spy Fox is like kind of a little bit like Crash Bandicoot by the third game recognized it had a more adult audience. And the company just switched gears entirely for completely adult marketed stuff. But the first Crash Bandicoot was meant to compete with Sonic. So it was designed in a way that was totally tubular. Bastard. This is how I play this. As I play the floor is lava. And I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. I feel like there must be an agreed upon romanization of what people say in this game. I should probably look it up. This is the kind of game that, like, people who like Klingons would get into, I think. Like, they would study, like, Klingon language. They would study, like, fucking Hollow Nest stuff. Hollow Nest language. Find some sort of conlang for it. Oop, out of soul. Ooh, ow! That was lacking in all grace and function. Get out of the way! You basic bitch! This is dangerous! Move on! Ooh. Oh, I thought I had landed somewhere else entirely. The Blackwell series, yes. Yeah, PB was like you have to play them all. And Megan, you only own like 3 of them, I think. So the rest of the Blackwells are on my list because PB is very, very insistent about those. Zem, what was your problem with Deponia's writing? I agree with you, but I want to see if it's the same thing. Because I think this is Megan and I have one divergence in taste, and I think it's going to be the same thing. Yes, it was. It was. I did learn that. Blackwell was initially a mobile game. Didn't do that hot on phone, had to do a lot of weird shit. Decided to try their hand at releasing it as point clicks on Steam. Haha! That was great. That was the best The Floor is Lava yet. I feel like every time I have a conversation like this, like, people will just go like, that's also on your list? And I'm like, yes. Hollow stare. You know, that is something that I need to extend my definition of a point and click about, is Life is Strange and some of those more modern storytelling games, Going Home. I don't really think of them as point and click because they don't have the, you know, same bits and pieces connected. Thank you, Victor. Bits and pieces connected thing. Yeah. And so I've never really thought of them that way, but you're absolutely right in that they are. Bastard. Okay, bye. I was coming here to put you out of your misery, but that's fine. Come here. I love the change in voice for each of them. Even if it's a little creepy, I still love it. We're getting close to Olmec. I gotta keep my eyes peeled. I don't want to get smushed. Getting smushied is the worst. Any cat can tell you. Especially a buggy. Buggies, I think, could tell you too, and they would not hold back. Oh, here he is! Whoa! So many things that want to sit on me! Ooh! And not in the good way! Oh, no, 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 don't blow up a bee! Ah! That's fine. Some jokes in the later games of the series aren't to my taste. In some cases, it's misogynistic. In other cases, it's like kind of transphobic or has those vibes. Yeah, that's what I picked up too. There were I'll get past a game that does the dude looks like a lady joke because the 90s was dudes look like a lady joke central. I will not get past a game that pushes it past that point, or when it releases a collection like Deponia did, does not revise it. Like Persona 3 used to have a dude looks like a lady joke. Now it has why are you close-minded joke. And they did that when they released the collection. This is what Tony says about the Drifter. Hands were busy. The Drifter recontextualizes point and click for controller, limits unnecessary movement, stunning artwork, engaging narrative, fully voice acted, and acted well, breezy, no moon logic, convincing foe, just in time gameplay, Australian, as you were, sorry. Megan, they get weaker as the series goes along. Them. I think I had watched a video talking about the Drifter, and yeah, it was all that. Yeah. The Drifter is the current love of Tony's gaming life, I think. Well, and I do try to keep in mind that translation is expensive. But yeah, I think one of the major things Deponia had a chance to do was, like, look at who its audience, because it ended up being a majority English-speaking audience, right? This is something that, like, Foundation did. They're a German game, and they realized that their audience is mostly English-speaking. So they had used some words, so it's about like medieval city building. They had used some words for casts that were much more German defined, right? Like they had used serf for a lot of things instead of say peasant. And the English speaking community had to tell them serf is like a slave to a lord, you know? If that's what you intend, you know, you don't ever have anyone be a lord, so it doesn't really make sense. And they actually adjusted some of their higher titles because they did intend for the idea of a serf, but they did not intend for it to be confusing. Which was a little disappointing to me. I was like, oh, I thought they'd go back to peasant. They did not. But, you know, it's not my game. But I think those are the opportunities you also have when you have made enough money to consider an international audience, which Deponia more than enough has. Ooh, I went and stood right where it was going to come, of course. Real smooth, Hillary. Na 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 na. I am much happier when these guys come early. Even if they're a pain in the ass, I would rather die at like 20 to fucking them up than having them show up when all mech is around en masse and just being pissed about it. Oop, I was out of soul. Daedalus Entertainment was a competitive dev. Like, I really enjoyed Night of the Rabbit. Oh. I'm aware of Daedalus as a term, like, there's a lot of game devs that you hear mentioned in sentences with other devs, but you never quite connect who they are to other people. So I would not say I know what Daedalus does, but I've heard them mentioned a lot in kind of a cult sense in like the list of tiny devs that people should know. Regardless, I enjoyed Deponia. No matter how difficult it was. I think there was a point where I was like, Megan, what do I do? And Megan was like, oh, I looked up a guide for that part. And I was like, okay. I feel better. It was like the end of the first one when you get to the city. And I just could not figure it out. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Why? You have to like convince the mayor of something? Oh, this sucks. There's been no big boys whatsoever. This is terrible. This is no good, very bad for the state of Hildy. Oop. Just gonna run into it, that's fine. Very efficient way to die. There he is! Hi, guy! I was waiting for you! I hear Zot's voice in my sleep. It's angelic. No! Hi! Hi! Hi, Olmec! Whoop! Here. Hidden froggers out, man. Don't rush it. Take your time, get your healing in. Oh, nope. Oh, Daedalus is Deponia, so I have heard of them. They got tossed into deving the ill-conceived. Oh no. The Golem game. No. That was like the only Lord of the Rings game I wanted to play because I was like, being Golem. Being Golem sounds great. I want to be Golem. And then it was not great.
Meow meow.
What if it was just meows?
Meow meow. Meow 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 meow. Meow meow meow. Meow. Meow.
Just all meows.
Meow.
Meow, 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 meow. Meow, meow, meow. This is my life with Yorkie. Just everything I do is a meow. I wake up to meows. I walk around the house to meows. That would be my favorite game ever, if it was all meows. You're right. I would be like the shitty guy just meows at you. That's great. Fuck you, masculinity. Get me out on. Ooh, that was not pushing down. Sure, you found her voice, so now we have two of them. Oh, no. Megan's entire life is also narrated by meows. And growling. Ingrid growls, even if she doesn't mean it. She just bitches. She is such a diva that she's just like... at all times. That's what you get for naming her Ingrid Monroe. I have heard tell that Mortar, Shadow of War, which is also on my list, is pretty good. Just Ingrid being a son of a bitch. Or you naming her Ingrid Monroe. Megan says I helped Matt fall for me, so no regrets. Yeah. Yeah, it does show that you're a well-cultured lady. Who's into classy finger rolls. Ooh, hey! Hey! Getting spicy there, Frogger! Okay. I'm taking unnecessary damage. That's still such bullshit! I shouldn't be able to knock an enemy around and not have them bounce back into me and have it take damage. Bullshit. Oh, wait, does that mean if I bounce them into each other, they take damage? Can I use Zote as a projectile? Like, really? Can I? That would be fun. I would forgive the other thing giving me damage. I don't know, the timing on using Zote himself as a projectile would be difficult, though. Ooh. I just, like, walked back into it. Got distracted by rocking out. This song is called, like, Love, Hate, and War or something like that. It's a very dramatic song title. Which, I mean, yeah, makes sense, but it was still, when I just learned it yesterday, because I went to this list of a bunch of people, like, made silly covers of Zote covering songs in the game. So when I was on break, I was like, yeah, I'll play that list. And the headliner was that... Oh, if I could use him as a projectile. Yeah. Nobody answered. I still don't know the answer. Calamy! Are you still there? You gotta put some throat on it. That is a Leopleurodon. Like that. Oh. I didn't take my pills today. It's like, I'm uncommonly hyper. Hey, Vic. Would you grab my pills, please? This is Hildy without Adderall and with energy. Very specific combination. You're like, what's the difference? I can tell the difference. In 30 minutes, I'm about to be so locked in. It won't even be fun. I'll be bored. Not gonna lie, speaking of soundtracks, Mobile Suit Gundam does have a pretty timeless soundtrack. And Hero's in it, so, you know. Ah, those boys named other numbers. We cause all kinds of chaos with under-medicated and overly rested Hildy, it's true. Oh, shit. Oh, come on. I haven't pointed the right way this whole time. That's not true. But very recently. Up is up and down is down, goddammit. It's a precept. Is it green salsa?
Oh, just one. These fell.
Oh, well, that doesn't matter. Sam's like, no, it's true. There is a difference. Tell me which one you prefer. If it looked like I took a lot of pills, it's because there's vitamins in there. I'm not a 9-pill person. I'm squarely a 4-pill person. Ah, the great question. I think you should have rice for dinner. Ah. I feel like you have a lot of bread and pasta, so you should have some simple carb. Good for you. Too much starch makes them die early. Starch. Spaghetti and salad. Very classic. When I first moved to Portland, the thing that distressed me the most was that I could not find a salad with Italian dressing to go with any spaghetti I ordered. There was no place you could go for spaghetti except that one place on fucking Division or Powell. Delillo's? And their shit sucks. And there was no fucking iceberg and tomato and Italian dressing salad to be found. I was like, where are my Italian Americans? Where are my wife beaters and hairy chests? I'm lonely. That's how it felt. Now, whenever Italian dressing is offered, I order an embarrassing lot of condiments. Say through like a pizza place or something. Because who knows the next time I will find it. I grew up with because I grew up with New York Italian mother, we always had that little shaky bottle. There was a brand that was like Shake the Flavor or whatever. And you put oil in it. Oil and water, and then put the Italian seasoning in, and boom, you've got salad dressing, and then you shake it, and it's in your fridge. We always had that. Wait, is them... Listen. Tony, that reminds me, water has been boiling since stream started. I mean, you're getting a nice intake of air. Megan, my salad tonight is romaine, grape, tomato, shallot, parm, and Caesar vinaigrette. Sounds delicious. I really like a good iceberg wedge salad too. When I ate meat, like bacon, wedgeberg salad, blue cheese, shallots. Zem, I only have one of those things and it ain't a shirt. So it's almost Italian. It has long been known that the Guidos and the Cholos, they are quite related. Simply the style of their tattoos and how much of their chest hair you see at any time is the difference. Okay. Bro, I am so hairy, but I don't think I have a lot of Italian. No. No. Dude, Mexicans are equally hairy. It's like German Italians and Mexicans and Jewish men. All very, very hairy. If you're talking stereotypes. If we're talking pure stereotypes, very hairy. I mean, in George Costanza rules, you should be proud. I don't know about in the world of Slavs. Slavs also very hairy indeed. Like, I think it's something to be proud of. You are better at something than someone else. You should be proud of it. You are better at body hair. I am also better at body hair than most females. I am quite hairy. That's how I got the hair that I have on my head. It's all that Italian, German, and Jewish. Yeah, Slavs, Middle East tends to... Areas where there is a big differential in temperature. So it's not just cold areas, it's areas where the temperature changes quite a bit because hair is an insulator. So coastal areas, areas with mountain ranges, this is where you'll have humans evolve a lot of body hair. Places where it's consistently one temperature, like the equator, you tend to have a lot less body hair. Or in situations like Japan, where there's such small islands, there's no need for body hair. And it's almost always the same temperature. And that is actually why you get the myth that Vikings are very hairy, but in truth, they just grew long beards. They could grow long beards, but did not have a ton of body hair because Scandinavia is a very similar temperature year-round. We as mammals are incredibly predictable. I don't know if you can kill Olmec, but damn it, am I gonna try. And die. Ooh! Oh, fuck. Oh, balls. I've pissed him off. Go! Go away! You're big and cause a lot of damage! Woo! Yes. You take up so much space. All of you! Ah, ha, ha. Woo! Go! Oh, come on, Olmec. So I hit you a couple times. Jesus Christ. Bring me a river. Oh, fuck. Damn it. 30! Again! 38! One does not beat Olmec as much as survive Olmec. Make it, oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah. It's, I wouldn't say I'm a big fan of overmuch bringing humans down to environmental evolution because we
now
long
displaying
ago,
a message for YouTube.
Thanks, Trixie. We long ago surpassed the idea of being biologically, evolutionarily driven creatures and became societally driven creatures. But if we're talking about really basic shit, like how much hair you have, etc., that directly determined about which part of the world your ancestors started to walk upright in. Well, they were already walking upright by the time they left Accra, where they became agrarian, etc. Where they threw down their rootses and sat down their bootses. ah, it doesn't work. He can't be a projectile. Then what's the point? Oh my god. I see now why you get hurt by tossing it in, because his strategy is to bounce off the wall and hit you. Fuck you, guy. Fuck you. Ooh. Hit the button that attacks him, Hildy. No, that's too much thinking. Oh, hi. Okay, you're just a normal ass dude. Fucker. Fucking gymnast over here. Christ. Just trying to gain some health. Oh, I lived. Okay, this is gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna play till at least the 30 minutes hits and see what fresh Adderall can do. Excuse me. What can fresh Adderall do for you? Let me tell you. Nothing. Oh, okay. So it wasn't like I lived. It was more like I cheated death to be able to be like, you bastard. My god. What if I made a mod where it replaced the vessel with Choo Choo from Shoujo Kakamai Utena, and all it was this stupid weird monkey mouse crying Chew instead of the fucking oh, the internet would kick me off. Nope, no soul. Damn it. Well, I mean, it did damage to that guy, whatever. Bastard. Thank you. Stay in your corner. Everybody just stay in their fucking corner. Oh. I couldn't jump fast enough. I was like, ah, shit, I'm out of soul again. Every time I lose, the little beetle that says I'm saving right now shows up. I'm like, oh, you're recording. You're recording my exponential losses. Oh! Did you guys hear that? Did you hear a pop? Because I heard it in my monitor. If you did, that was my fucking sternum. Sounds like someone has too. I have a sound gate, a noise gate, so it might have been too low for it. But I did the little pop and was like, what? Which means it was fucking loud, because usually you only hear the pop if you're like right next to someone. I could always go for a Sapporo. Any sort of like Asian light beer. There's this Chinese beer called Snowflower, which is like 2 steps cheaper than Sapporo, and I fucking love it. Qingdao, that is nothing on Shuihua. Especially like in summer in Sichuan when it's like 100 degrees and humid and you're eating spicy ass food and you have like the equivalent of PBR except not PBR because it's better because they haven't sold out that much. It's so good. Like Rainier in the old days. Rainier now, it's like famous, so it means nothing. How the human biology perceives time is so interesting because, like, before PBR bought them, when having a Rainier was like having an actual competition. Like having the actual competition instead of like, I think PBR owns everything except fucking what's the one that like a moose or something? It's like blue. Is it Blue Moose? The Minneapolis PBR that's just such trash that PBR doesn't even want to own it. There's like a period of time where I actually like wanted. Oh well, there's a Portland only brand that's like, it's literally called like cheap beer. I used to drink that. Like it's just like a white can and it says cheap beer. I enjoyed that a lot. When I would hang out with Doll and Jesse, Doll always had some in the fridge. I have been paid in cheap beer before, literally. Doll, roller derby. Okay. Ow! No! It's doing so good, you son of a bitch! Oh. So, at the start of my Kamehameha Super Saiyan fist, I'm not immortal? Bullshit. I mean, that's just how the iframes work, but whatever! Damn it. I have made that mistake a lot. That's what I meant the other day when I was like, should I start using the D-pad? Because I am wasting a lot of spell opportunities using the analog stick. You fucker. There. I always forget you don't actually have to like jump for Descending Darkness. You can actually just like hop. Your first beer was Natty Light! Chicago. Well, I'm about to put you all to shame. My first beer was Fat Tire. And this was like when Fat Tire was only in FOCO. Well, yeah, you and your healthy relationship with your father. Actually, no, that was a lie. My first beer was a snake bite. A harp and a Guinness layered. I know. He is really lovely. Megan's dad is really lovely. He is the most dad. He has like the most dad energy. He is the most, I should be a grandfather, but I don't give a fuck because my kids live their own life energy. Lone Star? I've never heard of Lone Star. Yeah, when I was just turned 20, this Irish bar hired me, even though I wasn't 21 yet, and they said, don't tell anybody. And I should have known that later when they would leave me alone while they went and got high and I had to run a whole restaurant, they were problems. But my first beer was bought for me there, and it was a snake bite. I was a teetotaler because of my alcoholic dad. So I actually didn't drink anything until I was 21. On my 21st birthday, I got more drunk than I've ever been, I think, since then. Except that one New Year's with Alyssa when we went to the strip club in Boulder. We both puked. I think that's it. I mean, okay, I've been more drunk, but those are terrible stories, so we're using good stories. Yeah, I woke up on the kitchen floor. Just like got patted on the head by my roommate. It's a Texas exclusive. Makes sense. Texas PBR. Yeah, no, Megan's dad is like, he was the nicest. He is. Well, he's retired. This is why I'm saying was. It's not like he's dead. He was the nicest chef I've ever worked with. I have never worked with a chef who is kind. Chefs are usually dicks. Not fucking Megan's dad. The anti-Ramsey. No, he was so nice. Yeah, they had an open back kitchen, so nobody could yell at anybody. That was literally the reason. Because you couldn't really see in the kitchen, truthfully, the way it was set up. Like you could kind of, but the point was acoustics. I worked there very briefly, and when I was in my training, they told me that. Megan's family ran a restaurant her whole life. One of the things we first bonded on was that we were basically raised by restaurant people. Except my dad was the asshole chef, who then became the asshole catering manager, and her dad was an angel. Except I believe he dated one of his employees, and that's how he met her mom. So, not quite. Very close. Everyone's got to have fucked up once in their life. Look, it was a different time. Yeah, that's actually how my dad met my mom. He owned a restaurant called the Victor Milling Company. And my mom had just visited New York to see her boyfriend, who turned out was married. And he had gotten shot. He was a cop. He'd gotten shot on the job, and he said, don't come to the hospital. She decided to go to the hospital. And met his wife there. And she walked up to the restaurant, applied, and then moved into his apartment that was above the restaurant the same night. And that's how they met. They met when they were on an equal playing field. Okay, that's fair. To be fair, Marianne is never not on an equal playing field. Like, Marianne is a force of nature. She is always in charge, even when she's not in charge. Goat's like, well. Yeah, in evidence of how much my parents suck, though, of course I have to bring this down a little. I only knew that, despite having asked them before, because my ex, who disappeared before the wedding, my dad told him. When they were just randomly hanging out. When I randomly hung out with my dad, he told me awful shit that traumatized me. Dad hangs out with this motherfucker, and suddenly I know how my parents met. Yeah. But that is how they met. That's also how little my family talked to each other. My parents never bothered to tell their children how they met. Like, what? They're still together. Yeah, it's pretty weird, right? Right, Go? It's fucking weird. Aw, Zem, that's so cute. I feel like you're... Goat, but TBH, there's a shitload I don't know about my dad. I mean, I know so much about my dad. I know an embarrassing lot about my dad. Except I don't know anything. And he never left. That's fair, Goat. That lunch was a can of Chef Boyardee. What? That's hilarious. See you soon, Goat. Zem, I feel like you've told me bad stories about your dad, though. I feel like we don't like your dad. Like we as chat just don't like your dad. Mixed feelings? Okay, that's fair. Relationships are complex. So we withhold our judgment on your dad until the type of story you're telling us, and then we don't like him when you tell us bad stories, and we're fine with him when you tell us good stories. Good. Understood. Would you come over here? Thank you. No, my dad once told me about a party where they had found a... You know what? Guys, you're gonna be surprised. Megan Schrodinger's dad. Is he good? Is he bad? It depends on who's looking and when. Shall we ever open that box? That's good. I used to think that way about my dad. I used to say he was a better friend than a parent. Slowly I found out things like he told Dan how they met and not me, and I was like, But I actually used to say that before my friends started coming to the holidays with us. And then when my friends started coming to the holidays with us, they were like, your parents suck. And I was like, what? They were like, your parents are mean. And that's how I figured it out. I was so pot and boiling water because it's all psychological with my parents that I had to have people straight up tell me they are fucking mean to you. Oh no, it was with love. They were like, yo, do you know how mean your parents are? I was like, no, I wouldn't be bringing people to hang out with a bunch of people who are mean to me. They're like, no, they're mean. Okay, there is, I don't know, maybe? Maybe there's a universe where Omexam died! Porkbray, have you considered the fact that you weren't a chill child? I was not a chill child. I actually was a really chill child, Porkbray. I was absolutely, I came home on time. I did all my homework. So up until I was like 13, I had a lot of problems. That's because they wouldn't take me to a therapist. So I learned how to swallow all of my depression. And then I cleaned the house. I did my sister's chores too. I took care of everything. When my parents needed money or help, they call me. So the fact that they were mean to me, I think was like a form of control. I'm a very chill child. Not anymore. I stopped being chill much later in life. But I was about to tell a story about my dad, and I realized it was actually too gross for air. Like, not anything he did to me, I want to be clear. But it's a story about him as a 19-year-old. And me, Pork Beret, of all people. My father has told me shit about himself that is too gross for me to say. Your brother's partner's dad. He stole named all his children using his own initials. That's hilariously terrible. Yeah, I couldn't get it out. But that's the kind of shit my dad told me, not how he and my mom met. Also, hi, Pork Beret. How George Foreman of him, indeed. Pork Beret, how are your parents? Cowardice is not the warrior's path, tell us. Only if you tell me about your parents. Pretty chill. Yeah. Lauren, Megan's dad, we were just talking about how he was like such a nice chef. Megan's parents I wouldn't call chill. I would call her dad chill. Marianne there was a hurricane once named after her recently, and I thought the hurricane should be afraid of its namesake. The thing is, she's not that mean. Like, on the whole, she's just tough. Like, I'm never afraid of Marianne. I admire her. Yeah, she's just super intense. She's probably autistic and never got tested, probably, because she's just intense. So when my dad was 19, I'm gonna try and do this, okay? And I want to be clear. This was told to me while he was drunk, in his underwear, watching Roy Orbison in black and white, loud enough that you could hear it down the street if you walked up towards my apartment that I lived in. We had these dirty white couches that were, so they looked gray, you know, the old school embroidered type. And when I came home from school, there was always a chance that my father was in fucking, like, tidy coloreds. I know, Roy Orbison literally blew out a mic recording one of his songs. Like, they had to point him at a wall to record the song. And so, and it'd come up and it would be Jurassic Park, Silence of the Lambs, Roy Orbison, The Who, or fucking... Oh! Lord of the Rings. So loud. So loud. In my neighborhood, you had to walk up this hill to get up there. I'd walk up the hill and I'd be hearing this music. I'd be hearing the movie. And I could tell his mood by what movie it was. And so it was Roy Orbison, which knew he was going to tell me some bullshit. So I'm coming up the stairs, come upstairs. He sits me down and he says, my dad also, other preface here, my dad lost both his parents when he was 11. And he grew up, you might, those of you who have heard how I grew up, kind of like Harry Potter in an attic. He grew up in an attic at his rich uncle's house. Jackson LOTR. And moved out when he was 12 because he started working in kitchens after school because my father was born in the 40s. So he was already living on his own and had already been married twice, and he was 19 with his kitchen buddies in an apartment in Rochester, New York. On the way home, they had found a dead badger or raccoon. They're so wasted, and chances are there's coke. And they bring it inside, and they play beer pong, and they say whoever loses has to fuck the badger. I know that shit about my father. He did not lose. But they would not tell me how they met. Oh, Tony Blair of your dad and his dirtbag friends. Indeed. Yes. That's what I mean by I was a chill child. Because I sat quietly through that, and I was vegan at the time. Because it wasn't even that I wasn't even worried. At this point, he was so drunk, we'd just get in a yelling match. And do I look like someone? I've never been afraid of being in a yelling match. I just was trying to be respectful to my parent. I was like, maybe he's going through some shit. Maybe I should just listen to this. But now it's here, forever, in my memory. And now it's in yours. Hey, go. You just missed trauma. Like, oh yeah, you missed the story that was too gross for air that Pork Beret pushed me on, and then I said so. And now it's in your memory, Pork Beret. Now it's there. Sucks to be you. So goes the warrior's way. He said cowardice was not the warrior's way. As I've told many people, this is how I'm funny. I mean, I think that's what every stand-up comic says in the end, is they're just, you know, you talk to them and they have some sort of bizarre parent. Like, maybe it's bizarre in an awesome way or it's bizarre in a shitty way. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that they were raised in such a weird style that it made them weird, and thus they oh my god, two gymnast oats. What's that shit? That's rude. This is rude. Yeah, because there's some comedians, like Jim Gaffigan is one, where he grew up in like a really wholesome home and lives a wholesome Christian life. And he got funny because he needed to stand out because there were so many of him. He grew up with so many brothers and sisters. 13, I think, is how many Jim Gaffigan grew up around. Aggressively wholesome, yeah. Also goat. Yeah. Jim Gaffigan hasn't gotten canceled, right? Like, I'm okay if he has. People get canceled, they deserve it. But I don't like using canceled people as examples. Oh, that's right. He did used to do people's voices, and I think he got told he couldn't anymore. Impressions. He used to be an impressionist. Pork Beret just like stopped, just left. He'll never come back. He's like, I can't believe my virgin years. Except maybe by the stadium in Philly that he opened.
Now displaying a message for YouTube.
remember that. I remember that drama. He just, like, nobody liked it. Also, thanks, Trixie. I dream of the day they cancel me. They'll be like, oh, she was way too blunt about blah, blah, blah. Everybody cancel Hildy. No, I don't. Because canceling is for rapists. I don't even know why I thought that joke might be funny. You gotta try them all. You win some, you lose some. You throw them all out there and see what sticks. Once you get canceled, you can come back with a Netflix comedy special. Oh, or I could be Chris Brown and just, like, never go to jail, even though I'm a fucking wife-beating rapist. If there's any real-life person, I would actually... Pork Bray, I heard the one about the guy who tied a pool noodle to the ceiling fan and semi-circumcised himself. I'll be fine. What? Really? That's something my stupid fucking dad would have done, I think. If that was like... I don't think pool noodles were really available back then. He would have fucking done it like that. Going back to a very old point in that story, though, Roy Orbison. Zim mentioned this, that Roy Orbison doesn't have to be that loud. It's because Roy Orbison had such a voice. The note is actually in, You turned away from me. I think it's in That Night, or the song's called like A Walk That Night. And it is about the death of his wife and daughter in a car accident. He got married very young and very happily, and they both died. right when he was making it into the industry. And that's kind of how he became this really sad crooner. He, right at the end of that song, he holds a note for the rest of the song that is something like 40 seconds long. It did actually used to be a world record of some sort. That note he could hold so loud that when he was recording that song, they turned him towards the corner of the recording studio and had him sing it at the wall, and they had sound dampeners up. And that was so that it would not break their fucking 60s ass microphones. People found him, I believe. Now, this might be confusing two singers of the same generation, but I'm pretty sure that this was Roy Orbison. I believe that he was found performing at county fairs, and they could hear him at the other side of the county fair. And they said, whoever that is, we should probably hire. I don't even know. I don't even think he ever wanted to be like a professional. I think he just kind of stumbled through it. He wanted to perform, but I don't think like fame was the thing he wanted. He's one of those like kind of not quite handsome enough for superstardom musicians that just are like pure talent in one little bottle that I really admire. And if you are wondering who the fuck is Roy Orbison, he did Pretty Woman. Pretty woman walking down the street, pretty, and he also did Only the Lonely. Only the lonely know the way I feel tonight. Ooh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That one. And if you don't know those songs, I'm 40. Fuck off. Also, I was exposed to them. I used to karaoke Only the Lonely, but I can't really sing that well. And I realized that karaoke is just to sing the songs you want. But there's a point where you're just hurting people. And I knew, I was like, you know what? You're just hurting people. You gotta respect the people who came out tonight. So I stopped karaokeing Only the Lonely. No, that's not. I used to take karaoke pretty seriously. And had a lot of friends who did too. Not that you should take karaoke seriously, it's to have fun, but I used to do it a lot. And because I've never had stage fright, if you can guess. But I mean, I was a bar trivia performer, for fuck's sake. I've literally never had stage fright. I used to do it 4 nights a week. I handled live crowds yelling at me about answers 4 nights a week. Loved it. A lot of the people who are super regulars wanted to sing or be a musician, or maybe they couldn't, or they were discouraged, or they just weren't quite good enough. So because I was a regular, people, yes, that is how we became friends. There's this culture about how, about helping people who wanted to sing well, pick songs in their, like, range, and talk about, like, what key they should put it in. Like, this instructive, helpful kind of thing that is a little shady, but not, like, mean. Ooh, ow. And so I stopped singing it because there was no key or no instruction that could make me nail that song. There are some songs that I nail very, very well. But I mostly started rapping and then got super encouraged to continue rapping because I was better than many, many, many people. And to further show how very little stage fright I have, I once decided I'd go rap Gambino in the biggest karaoke bar in Chicago. And nailed it. It does not hurt. My boyfriend at the time was 6'7", but still. Fucking love Gambino. And that guy fires on all cylinders. Donald Glover really, like... Depression changed that guy in a way that made an artiste out of an artist. Like Emily Dickinson, straight up. Fucking Depression. I hate when Depression wins. Like, way to go, Depression! Way to continue the tortured artist trope. I mean, I guess it lost really hard on Kanye, so Depression is still not batting 500. Goat, musician, actor, and comedian. Damn good at all of them too, right? He's so fucking good. He's a writer. Like, I mean, he writes all of Atlanta. He wrote a whole bunch of 30 Rock. Fucking amazing creator. I say writes. He wrote all of Atlanta. It's because I'm stuck in a period of time that is not now. Ah. Kanye is bipolar. That's true. Depression and bipolar are very different things. I don't think bipolar's won ever, except Emily Dickinson. And even then, you could call that a big loss. It's hard for me to make fun of Kanye where he is right now because of the fact that it's what wealth, bipolar, and yes men do to someone. And systemic oppression of Black Americans. But at the same time, he's a fucking dickhead. And it is also really hard for me not to call him a dickhead. I mean, he's a bad person. But it's hard for me to, like, be light about it, you know? He did, but that's because his soon-to-be ex-fiancé model started talking about how he controls her. yeah, he really, like, Frank Ocean did a lot for hip-hop and rappers and R&B musicians in general in this way. Yes, and Kanye would say exactly, because so Frank Ocean was talking about how when Frank Ocean appeared as this openly bisexual man in hip-hop, which is verboten, but was not verboten, when he appeared, he talked a lot about how mental health was really frowned upon, and that how he was able to succeed was by pursuing mental health care. And I think that is part of why you are starting to see like Nas X and things like that are able to be very successful. Frank Ocean really changed the tide. Kanye, pre-Frank Ocean, it was not okay to seek help. And he knew he was sick as of Yeezus. We know this because there's a song where he literally says, "You've never seen someone so crazy as this man off his medication." But I don't think Kanye knows anymore. I think, you know, similar to how a lot of people fall for Scientology because or other things because they are suffering from mental illness, I think Hollywood probably got to him in a way that those alternate therapies have basically made it impossible for Kanye to find help, seek help, you know? It makes sense doing it. I killed an Olmec! I killed an Olmec! Oh no, here comes another one right now. I don't know how you can listen to Joe Rogan. That's the person I'll straight up call a motherfucker. Joe! How dare you? Okay, that's fair. I think a lot of people used to enjoy him because he was funny, and I would say, to a point, there's like 2 stages of Joe Rogan, right? There's like, hey, I sometimes make sense, and I ask guests really interesting questions. And then there's, hey, I'm a neocon. I think all of you should be neocons. I know some people who like lasted with him because they were there when he was like, I'm vaguely Republican, but I'm interesting. Kind of like Howard Stern, like people stuck around with him because he was a shock jock who occasionally said things that made sense. Pork Bray, the modern people yearn for freak shows. That's a good point. That's a really good point. Oh. Does that mean I'm a freak show? Victor, am I a freak show? His response when I go, Victor, am I a freak show? It goes on a scale of 1 to yes. Fuck you, Victor! He started getting super political. Well, that is... I actually... So Goat says he started getting super political and I couldn't stand it, even though he would say he wasn't. And that... oh, I also forgot to people who are watching this, because I don't have chat up. Goat had mentioned that it was a Joe Rogan interview he was listening to, where Joe Rogan... Kanye would make no sense, and then Joe Rogan would tell him, I think this is what you were saying. And Kanye would, like, immediately agree. If I could talk about hate-ons, you know, like, the hate-on I get the most for, because it's so good to hate it, because you're so right all the time, are stupid fucking mid-40s white men who say they're not being political because what they're saying must be true, and any disagreement with them must be politics. Oh, fuck those white guys. Biggest hate on. That's when I became mostly aware of Joe Rogan. If I'm gonna hate someone, I go look them up. Like, I'm that person who, like, if you get in a fight with me, I'm like, on June 17th, 2000, you called your mother a bitch. So I was not aware of him before he was a neocon saying anything that you don't agree with is politics. And politics are bad, even though I only talk to politicians. Ooh, 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 ooh! Rude! Phew. Okay. Okay, but... Damn it. Right, I became aware of him right when he turned around and endorsed Trump. My French friend says she listened. My French friend at the time said she listened to Joe Rogan, and I was like, I knew, like, you couldn't not know Joe Rogan existed and be as, like, loud and opinionated as I am. Pork-Ray, I don't know 1/10 of the knowledge required for me to say that he's Oprah for white men, but I'm going to say it anyway. You don't need to, because he is. You are 4,000% correct. That is exactly who Joe Rogan is. Because just like Oprah, who is the white women's black woman, Joe Rogan invites all of the white guys, black guys on the show. Like I can make endless comparisons. Joe Rogan recommends a book and it becomes a bestseller. Joe Rogan believes in all of the things like red pilling and calling people incels is wrong. And he supported Bernie because Bernie was the right choice. But if it's not going to be Bernie, it has to be Trump because all the other Democrats are corrupt. He is every fucking 40-year-old white dude who just got divorced by his hot younger wife. Except he's even older than that. Except Oprah actually does good for the world. Like, that's an insult to Oprah. Yeah, Spotify gave him like 10 mil. Like, Oprah actually, you know, she might be a middle-of-the-road opinion. But that was back when middle-of-the-road opinions were not don't be racist. You know? That was when I'm a little conservative on fiscal policy. Like, I vaguely remember that it was Oprah and Ricki Lake who had Ellen on when she lost her show because lesbian. Ellen is an asshole, by the way. All rumors say such. But you know, Oprah's giving people fucking cars. Joe Rogan doesn't give people cars. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that Oprah is not. What I mean to say is Oprah does good for the world, and Joe Rogan never does. That does not mean that Oprah does not do bad for the world. Just look at Jacob Frey. The whole reason fake memoirs are even a thing, we could talk about the origination of, but I think it's true, media, starting with Oprah and 1,000 Little Pieces. And her promotion and later defense of it. Fake memoirs. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So there's literally no guarantee that any autobiography you pick up on a shelf is real.
This neighborhood is a disaster.
Hi, Adam. Jacob Frey won his lawsuit because Oprah gave him the money to win his lawsuit back in the day for a book called A Million Little Pieces, where he said he was a heroin addiction survivor and he, had been attacked by so-and-so and such. What are you doing? What is that? He's like bringing the roof down. No. I don't know what you are. Oh my God, they're eating my soul. They were eating my fucking soul. That is some rude goddamn shit, motherfuckers. But he was like, I'm a heroin addict, don't you know? I survived living in the gutters. I was sometimes a sex worker. All of this was a lie. He actually had a group of people writing that book. And he still does. No! 50! Oh my God, I was at 50! He still has groups of people. Bye, Adam. He still has groups of people fucking writing that shit. Ugh. I just have to talk about Jacob Frey. Publisher's worst nightmare. Jacob Frey. You know what's been waiting for me this whole time? Basically a chimichanga. If we're talking about chimichangas, you might as well call me Deadpool, because they're my fucking favorite. Sounds way more stupid coming out than it did in my head. You were like, just keep going. Just keep thinking about Jacob Frey. Just keep it up. Jacob Frey actually is very similar to Zote. He made all of these outlandish claims because he was just a hurt, tired white guy who wanted attention. And he was sued by his family because this is also where David Eggers, who is a rather famous narrative nonfiction writer, which is what we call this kind of writing, because we know it's not 100% accurate. There's no way you, I went and ate crab at that restaurant. You don't know if you ate crab at that fucking restaurant, right? 10 years later, maybe you do. But do you remember what the waiter, there's going to be some detail you don't remember. So we know that memoirs and narrative nonfiction is not always... Memory is fallible, we know this. But it's not a straight up lie. Usually with narrative nonfiction, you're using your memories and comparing it to something, or you're changing your memories into something, like you're angling them. So the story about my dad I told earlier, I could angle that into, this is why I was vegan. It was not, but certainly a series of events led up to me being vegan for quite some time as a kid. And it would make sense for that to be one of them. And it is a real event I experienced. That's something you do in narrative nonfiction. Jacob Frey lied. A lot. Sarah Little is someone who's also big in this genre. You may know her as the voice of Viola in The Incredibles. Pork Frey, you became vegan to atone for ancestral sins. Yup. Zem, I don't think I've ever had a chimichanga. Have you ever had a fried burrito? Because you have, if you had that. I did. I became vegan too. Right. I could make that the theme of my narrative nonfiction piece. Collect all of these memories that maybe didn't actually relate to it entirely. Because trust me, I blocked that memory out until I was talking about my dad. It only comes back very rarely. And that's fine. Sarah Little, Dave Eggers, all sorts of people. There's no ads on YouTube. All sorts of people write in this genre. Right? Jacob Frey is not one of those people. And he got sued. Sarah Vowell! Oh my god, yes! I kept thinking about V. Sarah Vowell is big in this genre, who was also the voice of Viola in The Incredibles. Sarah Vowell's big in this. It's the genre where a lot of comedians end up. Jenny McCurdy just released one. NPR energy. Yeah, NPR energy. That is narrative nonfiction, NPR energy. When a million little pieces was promoted by Oprah, instant bestseller, of course, and he went on live television and said things like, "My dad was the first person who gave me heroin." Categorically not true. My mother left us when we were 7. Categorically not true. He created a space where Dave Eggers got sued by his family for merely mentioning them in a memoir in any way that was slightly not factual. He essentially killed a good deal of the narrative nonfiction genre. And he's still allowed to farm books through rooms of young people who want to be authors and call them his. Which is how A Million Little Pieces got made. Was a bunch of people in an MFA were told they'd get a publishing deal. Yes, it was her second book club book. The first one was an Emily Prost book, I think. Or, the first Oprah book club book was like, it had a white cover, it was about spring. It was her second. Her second book club book. So, I bring up Jacob Frey because he and his writing and Oprah's support of it and her willingness to fund him single-handedly created an environment where telling the truth became the bad decision. Folks get sued now for telling the truth about their bad families. And they can because of Jacob Frey. There's a whole industry behind it now. It is one of the moments that I personally pluck out as the start of fake news. So although Oprah does do good for the world, she has a major hand in ruining it. So please don't think that I am defending her. I am simply saying she's better than Joe Rogan. I think she's done a lot for, like, women's image. Her weight issues. The way she's been open about them and talking about them. I think she's done a lot for people that way. I can't believe I made it to 50. And I died in such a stupid way, too. It wasn't like to weird soul guy or to infection bug. Just to a fucking long neck. I guess I could speak with such detail about A Million Little Pieces because I was just finishing my undergrad when this happened, and I had already determined I was going to go for a publishing master's because I had no idea what to do with an English degree, even if it was a linguistics degree, and I had no parental support, as I'm sure my stories tonight can show. And so I said, I will just go to publishing. That's a way to make money if you know words, right? And so I was paying a lot of attention to the industry. Oh, hey! That was a pretty good hop and get right there. Ow! Fucking long necks! Oh. Every time. It's like, I want to heal. Takes damage anyway. Ooh! Come on, big boy. Stop wasting my time. Ooh. Ow.
Now displaying a message for YouTube.
Thanks, Trixie! Olmec! Chill the fuck out, my guy! Fuck. Okay, I got lucky there. You! Little fucking dick! Oh! No! Oh!
Ma'am, someone has paid for your hydration.
Thank you, Trixie.
It seems someone is worried about your posture, ma'am.
Thank you, Trixie. All right. You're right, though, Megan. I think, you know what? I think Oprah is, in fact, all of the good she's done has always been one step too far away. You're correct. If she'd just gone down body, well, she did go down body acceptance for a hot second, but yeah. Of course, I just resent that man so much. Luckily, he is now out of the writing business. The one book that he had a fiction book farmed by a bunch of young MFA writers as well. It did become a bestseller, and long, long ago, compared to Frey at least, in the late 80s, the formula of a book was discovered. You can find a formula online. That is the exact formula of a fiction bestseller. It will be a bestseller as long as you follow the rules. There's less than 57, but there's close. And it did become a bestseller. Some of the rules are impossible to follow for certain people, though. You can write the bestseller, but for it to be a bestseller, you have to have some sort of clout. That's one of the rules. You have to be somewhat famous, or at least have connections. Eating my hair, don't mind me. So that rule's pretty hard to follow. But it was supposed to be a series, and it never sold enough for that, and turns out locking a bunch of MFA people in your basement to have them write a book for you isn't really good practice. He should have been, not Michael Crichton. Who is the guy who does, he's Michael Crichton adjacent, John Grisham? No, maybe. In that genre, there is a person, it's not John Grisham, for sure. I think it is Michael Crichton. He actually does have farmed books. Michael Crichton doesn't write his own books. Nobody cares because he actually follows the rules of ghostwriting. He pays people incredibly well. They get a share of the royalties. They get thanked in the beginning of the book. There are rules to this engagement. They were established long before Jacob Frey. So it turns out breaking that by making fucking book farms makes you a pariah. People rat on you, and you get laughed out of the industry. Ow. That stretch actually felt really good. I'm glad I added that. That stretch was like really nice. Namida! I have a feeling if it's not tonight, it's gonna be like first thing tomorrow. I'm consistently getting up around 40 unless I do something stupid. And I think I've now seen all of the Zotes. Well, maybe not, because there's one more Zote that could appear at 55. So I've seen almost all of the Zotes. I was nailing the floor's lava. There you go, flying faster than I thought. It's just like everything stops and it's just normal ass Zote. The one from the Colosseum who just runs back and forth waving his sword and occasionally jumps. I think that's too, I think that's too Undertale for this game. If this were Undertale, that would definitely be the end. That's too Toby Fox. Aw. I had a plan for you, guy. You ruined it. Undertale is about why violence is the worst. And the implicit violence of video game culture. It is a small kid falls down a well into the world of monsters, and he has a choice. He can kill or he can befriend to get out of battles. And if you kill, it's called the genocide run. Because you are literally become a genocidal maniac. Kill is the only option. Shut up, Shonen. Having done both, I can tell you the genocide run really makes you feel like a shitty person. And it... Oh wait, Zem said something. What if at the end there's... Okay. Does Undertale count as a point and click? I think tomorrow I'll wake up my Tamagotchi. I've never played it. I remember you loving it. Kinda, with bullet hell thrown in. No, if you hunt down all the encounters in a map, it's a genocide run. Right. Shonen doesn't make you feel shitty if you already know who you are. I would almost call the genocide run a sociopath or a psychopath test. So what happens is, like... Pork brace like shiny honey butter. It becomes like that. You actually have to run in circles to get all of the encounters you need, because it is random encounters. So you're literally running around in circles to get random encounters to murder them. And how you know you killed all of them is you get the random encounter noise, and then it says, but no one came. Yeah. It literally says, but no one came. I have that burned into my soul. I don't even know how I managed to finish it. I got so upset. So upset. But I was determined, because I liked Undertale so much. I was determined. The thing about the genocide run that they do not tell you is you have to do it last. Because the game is programmed in such a way that you have to uninstall it and actually clear your hard drive to get the pacifist ending, which is the ending where you kill no one ever. Because once you have done a genocide run, the game remembers and never lets you be a pacifist, no matter what. The game also yells at you if you load it up after a good ending and says, why won't you just let them live in peace? Yes, Toby Fox, so there was already meta before Undertale, but Toby Fox walked up to meta, punched it in the face, and said it's Toby Fox now. Having now seen Earthbound, because I watched Oddish stream it, the fact that it is an Earthbound ROM hack only makes it more purposeful. Because the entirety of Undertale, because Toby Fox did not know how to code video games, really, is Earthbound hacked and manipulated. You didn't know there was a pacifist ending. Oh my god. There is. If you don't kill anyone, there's a pacifist ending, and it's the only way to get the true ending. It's actually the only way to do the final battle. So you do San in the genocide option, but San is not actually the final. There's like 4 levels of a final boss. You can only get it in the pacifist ending. Toby Fox had help from one person, and they did the art for original monsters that were not in the original Earthbound hack that he could not modify to a point. I mean, now San is in fucking Smash Brothers. I would say Undertale is the example of indie success, but in middle school? Oh god, I'm so old. Oh, don't worry, Goat. I'll be replaying it eventually. This computer has never had Undertale installed on it, so there is no chance of it blocking me from any of the routes. It is a delightful game. It is extremely well written. The music is legendary. It deserves all the fame it got. It deserves the fact that Toby Fox is now called up by Nintendo to make background music. It's wonderful. It is not something I look forward to replaying. It is painful. And you feel exceedingly responsible for every decision you ever make. Wait, you helped someone with Sans in middle school, but you didn't play it? Porkbray, I feel like Undertale is the second most influential indie game. I agree. What do you think is the most influential? Hollow Knight. I'm waiting for it. Shodan says Stardew Valley. That's not actually a bad choice. Legitimately. I think Stardew Valley really changed the landscape of gaming in a big way. Prior to Stardew Valley, Cave Story, that's a good choice. Cave Story, One Shot, even though One Shot, because One Shot is very much the influence to Undertale. I wouldn't say it's like one of the most, because people don't know what it is, but I would put Stardew Valley in the top 5. Stardew Valley made it possible to have cozy games. Prior to Stardew Valley, cozy games were games for girls, and they were not funded. Stardew Valley was very revolutionary. Terraria, I would also put. But Terraria kind of leads the question to Minecraft, though I do think Terraria does a lot different than Minecraft. And Minecraft, I would not call indie. Cave Story, I think, is excellent. Yeah, cozy was a secondary concern. Cozy was, will this sell to women? Okay, now I guess we can think of it. Yume Nikki. Oh, okay. I agree with you on that. I actually didn't know about Yume Nikki, and then I got told by Oddish's chat, you need to go install it right now, and I did, and I was like, yeah. So, the thing about Harvest Moon that I'm gonna use what? Oh, Minecraft was indie. Okay. The thing about Harvest Moon, I'm gonna use what Zem said, in that Cozy was a secondary concern. Harvest Moon was concerned about selling games to people who didn't like violence. So there is a huge amount of Harvest. And the thing about Harvest Moon that is different than Stardew Valley is that there is violence in Stardew Valley. Violence in Stardew Valley is completely optional, but it is designed to say that even being an adventurer can be cozy. If you want, you can go fuck up a dungeon for 100 levels. But you don't have to. Whereas Harvest Moon is very much on rails and is designed to create, and it was designed for kids on top of that. Harvest Moon had a limit. Now, I don't disagree that Harvest Moon being a big predecessor for cozy games, but I think that Stardew Valley really made it. Concerned Ape is a huge fan of Harvest Moon. Yeah. Concerned Ape basically loved Harvest Moon and said, let's do it better. And Harvest Moon wasn't enough, Rune Factory, to make those games become mainstream. RimWorld. Having just played it, I will say RimWorld is in my top 10 most influential indie games. There was a game, yes, it did go. There was a game that I played and loved called Mind Over Magic that is literally RimWorld, and I didn't know. And that's everywhere. But I think when we're talking about, like, there was the whole Natsume Story of Seasons fiasco. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, there was. I think that's why I'm a little biased against Harvest Moon and in general, is because it has such... It doesn't have a clean history, but I think Megan is right in that simply existing, it created a space for games like this. Pokemon, I think, as a concept... Now, this is not indie at all, but Pokemon, I think, also started a bit of the cozy idea. Oh, hello! Thank you for the raid, Princess! Thank you for the raid, PB! Hello, Sierka, welcome! You're just in time to watch me die some more. I actually got to 50 because I was on a rant about Jacob Frey. And then I just wasn't even noticing and was going by instinct. But you're in time for, we're talking about most influential indie games. Yes. It's the non-localized name for Harvest Moon, and there was a huge fiasco about it. We were talking about most influential indie games because Megan has never played it. So I was talking about Undertale, I was talking about how important it was to the landscape. And then Pork Beret said, I think it's the second most influential to Cave Story, which I agreed with him on. But we've also brought up Minecraft and Terraria. Zem, no spoilers. Terraria. And to chat entering. I am supposed to not know anything about Tunic. I am aware that you are a fox and you are on an adventure. But I have been threatened with pain on death if I learn more by Mistroy. So, so we were talking about Undertale. Hollow Knight, I think, does belong in there quite a bit. Hollow Knight really, does Dwarf Fortress predate RimWorld? Oh, then I'm going to say Dwarf Fortress. Because if... Okay, so then I'm changing. I did not know. Obviously I know Dwarf Fortress, but I did not know it predated them. So I'm going to change from RimWorld to Dwarf Fortress. So we said I was saying RimWorld, but now I'm saying Dwarf Fortress, Minecraft, Terraria, Stardew Valley. Yes, that's what I was going to say about Hollow Knight. I think that Hollow Knight basically fixed the modern Metroidvania. Like, a lot. I never enjoyed Metroidvanias until Dead Cells, which I would call one of the modern. I would put it in my if we were restricting this to from 2020 onward, Dead Cells would probably be number 2. But Dead Cells was the first. Hades is technically before 2020, but Hades would be number 1. Dead Cells is the first Metroidvania of any sort that I played and enjoyed. Even though it was technically a rogue, it was also a Metroidvania. And I've mentioned this a couple times, but I actually have bought Dead Cells. Between Victor and I, we have bought Dead Cells 7 times on 5 different systems. Because it was always like, oh, that's a great sale. Okay. We own it on like 9 systems if you count mobile systems, but... Ooh. You know what? Old lady's still got it. Whatever the first big roguelike was, definitely has its spot. Well, you know, I think that's a tough question. Roguelikes. I'd love if chat rated on this, because roguelikes have a really difficult history. Obviously, rogue, right? But roguelite has a questionable source. So roguelike, yeah, it's called a roguelike, right? But roguelite, with its adjustments, I honestly don't know. Probably Spelunky or Isaac. Yeah, Isaac probably. Ooh, Rogue Legacy. I didn't even know that was a thing. Rogue Legacy? Ooh, Myst! Oh, I can't believe I forgot to bring up Myst! An Oracle indie game before we even called things indie games. Myst! Such an indie game, it predated the word indie. Oh, okay. So I didn't have a computer until 4 years ago. A computer that could play games. I did play Undertale on computer, but like Undertale can be played on a lot of fucking games, right? On a lot of computers. I could barely play the Talos Principle on it. Let's say that. And so my gaming world, this just goes to show the kind of Odin Sphere. I didn't even think about Odin Sphere. But this just goes to show the kind of like indie world and taste that I've lived in, is that I wasn't really talking to the internet about video games. It was me and Victor and whatever friends I had that played video games, and that was it. I found Undertale by sheer luck that I had a computer that could play some Steam games at the time. So there are some things I have no idea about, and I love learning from other people. Like, I barely knew Rogue was a real thing, and then someone was like, Rogue! And I was like, what is Rogue? Oh, you fuckers. Yeah, PB, but Myst was made by like 2 dudes. Pork Beret, so Rogue Legacy is a 2D platformer roguelike and gave a broad audience the idea that an action game could have roguelike elements. Okay. PB, aren't most games near the beginning of video games technically indie before everything became AAA? Zem, depends on what you consider indie, TBH. And also, would you call Rogue Legacy indie, or was it a big deal? Zem, depends on what you consider indie. Pork Beret, Shovel Knight felt like the indie mascot at the time, but it doesn't feel very discussed nowadays. Shadon, I'm just here for the plant facts and Hildy's suffering. That's fair. Everybody's got an audience. Pork Beret, Mina the Hollower looks good though. PB, yeah, like games like Ultima and Superplex were also made by 1 or 2 people. That period is way before Myst though. Myst is... Yeah. Like, Myst was made entirely and then got distributed. And it was one of the... It was the first that did that. And I do think it was the first full 3D game of its time, too. I can't say for sure. But if we're talking about you're just talking about early games in general, but Myst is square in the center of when PC gaming is a real thing and people are playing PC. And in fact, puzzle games are the thing, in fact, when Myst is doing it. And there are huge publishers. Just like Mark is saying, I'd have said most games were for major publishers until probably Apogee, and then I demonstrated the capability of the small independent publishers to break in. Exactly. Like, because prior to PCs really being able to produce games, you had to get a distributor to put it on cartridge, or you had to make a cartridge yourself, like ROM hacks, or old Spectrum hacks. There were a lot of Spectrum hacks back in the day, and Commodore hacks. But if you couldn't get it on a cartridge, then you weren't going to get it in a system. But I think 1 or 2 devs is not the definition of indie. Back in the day, I think the definition, though Myst being made by 1 or 2 devs is huge. I think more the definition is a lack of a big publisher, maybe, or lack of funding. Though Ultima, I think, does fit this standard of very early indie. I'm disagreeing with other games of that era, but Ultima, but the first everything was pretty indie. You could get really technical here. I think we might need to set a starting point. Like if you are phylogenists, speaking about plant facts, this is how phylogeny is the study of lifelines, or, following a plant back to its roots. Phylogeny on the humans would bring us to monkeys, but it's primarily used by botanists because it doesn't really make sense for mammals for a lot of reasons. And so if we were to be a phylogenist on this, you always have to set the root of the tree in a time. So if you make a phylogeny chart, it's just a bunch of lines leading to something. And you have to put the root somewhere. It has to be a time period you've agreed upon. And so let's agree upon a time period. I think Cave Story is a pretty good time period. That starting from Cave Story or Rogue, either one, is a good time period, because there are, at that point, major publishers, and they are saying no to games being handed to them because they don't think they'll sell. And that's where the environment for indie games really starts. We could even say, advent of Steam, though I think that's a little limiting. It does basically allow for indie games to exist equilaterally. So, or if itch.io predates Steam, I don't think it does, but if it does, itch.io. I think, you bitch. I need that! Park Bray says, indie becomes a meaningful term when it's not the status quo. PB, that's what I meant by it. The first ones have development features of indie. Yeah, why don't we just say Portal. Like, what? Portal came out in 2008? Oh, that's fair. No, you're right, Rivna. What was it called? What was it called? Where Frog Fractions was posted. Though that was 2012. Newgrounds. But now you're talking about kind of a different type of game too, right? So let's limit our scope even further. Because phylogeny is about common ancestors, right? So we're talking about a game made in what we would call traditional coding language, not necessarily Flash, that could have been released by a major publisher, but was not for a reason or another. And we're looking for games that descend from there. And maybe it was released by a publisher, but it wasn't made by a game-making company. You know, there are different variations on that, right? But it is of a certain type of game that I don't want to say traditional, because we're talking about a lot of non-traditional games, but I think Flash games opens a huge door that really creates too big of a discussion to come to any reasonable consensus. Adjusting on scissor lifts. Shut up. And when we limit it like that, that does actually cut out Mist. So I've spent entirely too much time on a scissor lift. So it's there. It's there for you. It's waiting. I think Yume Nikki actually might be the most strict example of a game that shouldn't exist and shouldn't have made money. It didn't even make money, I think. I think Yume Nikki is free. And I think it's always been free. I think Yume Nikki is one of the most definitive examples of an riff. As a dev, I can tell you Flash was used by big company, but the frame was a commercial thing. The thing that allowed you to play it outside a browser at the time. So I suppose then the frame is what I'm talking about. PB, so basically when publishers had the power to gatekeep it, a developer found a way around it. Yes, PB. When developers had to find ways around gatekeeping, I think is the start for that. And Rifna, no, I am not discounting Flash in any way, as I think some of the most influential games we could talk about if we're talking about globally are Flash. Because people who need to tell stories and need to put out good mechanics and need to do things like that will put out a game no matter what. But I think if we don't narrow the discussion, we'll never get anywhere. Did you know there is a fighting game that uses construction vehicles? But, Rifna, as the developer, I'm extra interested in your input on this. So we were basically talking about
now displaying a message for YouTube.
Thank you, Trixie. About our most influential indie games. What would be some of your top? You don't have to number them. Pork Braid also says a lot about you that you brought up. Missed. Okay, I feel a little better. Haha, PB. Also, I told my boss about the game Genital Joystick today. Oh, did you? And what did your boss say? You told me that Mist didn't count. Not exactly, but you did poo-poo a bit on Mist. You said that it opened a door to a lot of games, but I think He thinks I need to make the scissor lift game too. I told you I don't imply things. I know, PB. I know. Whatever. I know. It's. Let me have this one. Let me have the feeling. You also got people who publish games on their own site and then got picked up, so it's kind of obscured. I agree entirely. Pork Bray LSD Dream Emulator was released on the PlayStation back in 1998. Whoa! That is something, when I was making my list of games for the ABC thing, that is something I figured out, was that I thought when I started playing on Steam and on a computer that could do it, that I was finding all these games that were never released on console and were so hard to get. And then I saw just how many fucking indie games were picked up once they were popular on PC or on someone's website or whatever, and that I just didn't know were there. Like, so many games that I was like, I just figured out existed now, were released in like 2003 on PlayStation 2 or something. I thought I was missing a whole world of things, but really I was just beholden to a lack of marketing. Because in the end, what really makes an indie game, if we want to be super technical... Oh, all games. Let's go. Let's go. Rifna says, are we only talking American? Let's just go. Let's go. I might not be able to comment on like Japanese only released games or Europe only released games. I do know that Canada, I think you guys had to release under Europe released games for a while, right? Or am I just making that up? Did that just come from nowhere? There's always a chance of that with me. I agree. I do agree, Pork Beret. Super Meat Boy is something I remember in high school people telling me I had to play. As a native French speaker, I can tell you there was a giant French culture of indie games, if we consider tiny studios. Oh, Rifta, I'm not surprised anymore because... Actually, I'm not surprised, period. Because I kind of... When I was in that bubble, right? But when I left that bubble... Immediately, I mentioned earlier tonight that there are games that have like 50 reviews and 2 of them are me and Tony. I immediately noticed the outrageous amount of French developers. France has a whole indie game grant. And it's like a good one. Chance of Senar, etc. Like, I mean, Claire, for most people, is like the first non-Ubisoft game they think of as French. But a ton of games that they've played are French. Anyway, yes, please. If you've got a French or a French-Canadian game in your opinion list, PB, please share your opinion as well. And I think Ultima is very... oh my god, going back to Chance of Senar blind would be such a treat. It's so beautiful. I lose my... So, you know that weird, like, Globe commercial Steam made where it's, like, all of the Steam decks on there? Really? The first black... So, PB just said, speaking of French, did you know that the first black woman game designer was French? Fuck yeah! I did know that a lot of the first female game designers were French, period. As in comics as well. France... also treated comics like serious art, and that's how you got Mobius. France in general, for all of its foibles, in the arts that we find nerdy, they just see as something you care about. They were making FMVs. Yeah, FMVs. Before cutscenes existed in American games where, yeah. Well, if we're talking about still pictures sliced together, still, yeah. Her name was Muriel Tramy. But France in general, when you start looking at the art forms that America tried to censor because they weren't Christian enough, you get this, like, pile of glory. And you get all of these Americans saying they influenced me, which is also... some of my favorite bit. Okay, but listen. Rifna, are you surprised that the French were making sex games? Also, going back to genital jousting made me sad that vaginas weren't more easy to animate. I can't believe we have the ERCB because of Night Trap and Mortal Kombat, but that's not as funny. Night Trap is hilarious. Just like how we have the R rating because of Midnight Cowboy. The X rating, I mean, because of Midnight Cowboy. And anyone, for that matter, looks at early Japanese games. But it's surprising that it was the drive behind people finally making story-based games. That's true. And so I say this a lot in botany because it's another sort of, we have PG-13 because of Indiana Jones, indeed. It's another sort of subculture that's frowned on a lot, but stoner culture is the culture that makes the most strides in botany. Weed growers in particular. And it's kind of like, it's just telling of the human experience that we will do anything we can for our basic pleasure drive, right? Like, almost all of the best, like, inventions or artistic pushes come from, like, wanting to fuck or get high. Coca-Cola came because they used to put Coke in Coca-Cola because they wanted to get high and have some energy. And then they realized people just like the flavor of Coke. Was the first E10 plus rating, yeah. Rifna, yeah, no, that's basic wanting to dissociate from reality, just like wine and beer culture. Exactly, wine and beer culture. I will say wine has done more to harm horticulture than help it, but beer culture has definitely helped plants. Goat, I learned that my dad stopped having asthma because of Coke. And by that I mean cocaine. Oh yeah, I knew what you meant. I was thinking about that for a second. Because one of the things that happens in botany, which I've mentioned before, is I was taking classes with pre-med people. Half of my classes were also pre-med. People don't realize that, but it's because we don't know shit about plants. So if you want to teach macrobiology, there's no botanical macrobiology. You just take it with all the pre-med students. So I learned a lot of pre-med shit about a lot of shit I wasn't wanting to learn about. I know more about diabetes than I care to admit. But that actually makes sense to me. A lot of sense. Narcotics should have a chance of fixing your problems just to spice it up. Like, is that just the RNG? 1 out of 100, you're like, my life just got way better because I shot some heroin. Oh god. Fucking our life based on RNG. Which game came up with RNG? That's the game I need to talk to. How about piles of shame games for 100? I know. RNG is like the essence of game theory. Still makes me mad. They even use RNG as a term when they're talking about crickets in game theory. They use it to simulate game theory as a, because crickets, when they get in fights for resources, there's no way that they know what the, actual resources of the other guys are. And so they're going in blind, so they use random number generation to create the number for their study. By the way, crickets are fucking weird, harem-holding, crazy things. All crickets have harems, and they murder each other for them. Crickets are weird. Entry-level game theory is with crickets. Fucking weird. Fucking weird shit. I had to watch a bunch of crickets killing each other, and I finally was like, can I stop? And then my teacher was like, are you vegan? And it turned out she was too. I was like, thanks. And she said, here's the results of the fights. You watched enough to know their behaviors and just answered the questions. I was like, I'm not an insect person. I'm a plant person. It's nuts. So in general, the smaller cricket wins. Here is why. Crickets are smarter than we give them credit for, and they assume if you are big, you have a lot to protect. So they don't get in a fight with you. And they avoid it. They run. The entirety of cricket existence is based on that assumed resource theory, where they think you've got a lot of women and booze if you're huge. And they know you're stronger than them if you're huge. So what ends up happening is big crickets are lazy because most of the small crickets run. So when a small cricket says, I want me them women and boozes, and comes at a big-ass cricket, the big-ass cricket is a bad fighter and has taken his resources for granted and doesn't fight as hard. And it is proven that the incumbent wins. Now, here's the other part, though. The incumbent does not actually win that often because the owner of the space knows what they are defending, and the fighter does not know what they are getting. So when incumbents win, it is smaller crickets. When defenders win, it is smaller crickets. Usually, defenders win simply because they are not fought with, because the other cricket doesn't know what they're getting and is like, fuck, I'm not getting beat up by that fucking dude. Yep. All it takes is one small cricket to be like, it's all lies. And then it'll blow up. So there's other things that kind of weigh in on this, like the smell of the cage is a big one. You know, crickets, I guess, leave off a big stench when they've just boned a bunch of ladies. And I guess like humans. And so if it smells like lady cricket in there, the chance of the incumbent actually picking the fight increases exponentially. If there is water near them, the chance of the incumbent running increases. Because crickets can't swim, and big crickets, their number one move that they use is to throw. So the incumbent will usually run because he's like, man, if I get thrown in that shit, I will get destroyed. Yeah, that's just a publisher not putting enough people on their team, PB. That's just a publisher being a dick. No! Ah! Alright. We're gonna do like 2 more times. Because I could literally sit here and talk about cricket fighting for the rest of the night. But my hand is starting to hurt. Because I have repetitive stress injuries. And there's been a chimichanga there this whole time. Does anybody have a streamer that I should raid? Does anybody have a suggestion? If you listen closely, you can hear crickets from chat. Shut the fuck up, Shadan. The fact that Pork Beret of all people responded means that they were listening. Zep, you're so strong and brave for Deadpool would say so. PB said, so neither Ultima nor Superplex are indie because they were both published by publishers even though they were made by 1 to 2 people. They were made by those people because they wanted to make them, but they had to go through the publisher to actually publish them. Oh, I mean, again, this is the complicated term of indie. I would say that's an indie development. I would say that. Because they just made it and then they had to go hire a publisher. Like, it wasn't like they got funding or, you know, they had to quit their day jobs to do it kind of thing, right? Well, maybe they didn't have to quit their day jobs, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Which is like, I think it's fine to say that there wasn't really a game culture and that independent developers made it. I think it's fine to still call them independent developers because very few of them actually did coalesce into major companies. Maybe they got hired by them, but it wasn't like this developer became Ubisoft, you know? I'm just shitting on Ubisoft lately, but it wasn't like this developer became Ubisoft. So I don't think it disqualifies them from any sort of, I don't know, title, naming, prestige. If we say that, then there were a ton of indie devs. Well, yes, and that's fine. It's fine that a landscape was full of independents for a while. When we're talking about influential indie games, we tend to say that those games are the ones that happened after that landscape became solidified. You know? Yeah, there was Infocom. Even then, we'd call Infocom indie by our standards. But they were not indie, they were huge. Me too. Pork Beret says, Ubisoft has gotten worse than EA. I agree. I think Ubisoft is one step away from a shame murder. PB, that's what I said before. Most beginning devs were following indie structure even if they had to go through publishers. Well, I mean, yes, but I think it's where I think some of the disconnect is coming from is I think we're using indie to mean a very specific type of dev, right? But that specific type of dev can be all sorts of things. I think we are using it in contrast. And if there is an era where there isn't enough contrast, then it's not very easy to point to one game. Thank you, Rifna. Because the 60s was all indie. Well, actually, I would say not the 60s, 50s, R&B was all indie as well, similar to video gaming in the early days. But there wasn't a lot to contrast to. So we can't necessarily say that one or the other paved the way for more of the same. Yeah. That's why I was initially sort of pooling Ultima and Superplex like out of that, like setting the route after them, was because it's not as meaningful because there wasn't that same, there wasn't that same bar. Cave Story and Undertale, because and I bring up Yume Nikki, I bring up Undertale, because ROM hacks and RPG Maker still get a lot of bullshit. I actually think that they are, in effect, some of the least respected games in the modern judgment. But they often take more work because the systems that they use are janky as hell. And so when I sort of laud them or land on them a lot as influential, I think it's partially because they're kind of like in Ratatouille. They're the everything everyone can cook. video games, you know? You can make an Undertale. It can be a ROM hack, and it can be a fucking dope-ass game. And you can make a Yume Nikki. You can make a fucking RPG Maker game and define modern horror. You can do that. And I think that's really what makes the modern indie landscape so exciting, or at least the teens was very exciting because of that. Yes, and those things existed for a long time. RPG Maker is nothing new. It's been around since it's been around, but the ability to publish those games is new. So I think that's why I land on those games so hard, or I bring them up so hard, is that they really create a space. Like, Claire does not do this. This is partially why, though I call Claire indie, it's a little hard for me. Because Claire, you cannot be Claire without getting a bunch of funding and a bunch of access that they knew where to find it because they were previously in the industry. It doesn't mean it wasn't developed with the same gatekeeping, so I'm not discounting it, but that's what makes it difficult. I think that's where the triple I argument starts to come in. Yeah, outside of personal websites and stuff. Yeah, exactly. You can't find this information. That little shit. It's taking my shit. It's taking my shit. This is hard enough without you being a little fuck. Oh. Yeah, Rifna, that's a good way to put it. Rifna says we can point at small team games and then later indie games, which can have bigger teams but no investors. Yeah, outside of personal website stuff, indie should mean without investor. Yeah. PB, it's a good thing that those exist because it gives people power. Yeah, I think it's without investors or without power. And that's why I give Clear indie, because they didn't have power. They had investors, but they had no power. Baldur's Gate 3, I have a very hard time calling independent. It is, but it's still very hard. They didn't get money from Wizards of the Coast. They had to be in early access for 6 years. But boy. Oh no, Remedy has a new seat. Oh no, Remedy has an EA adjacent employee. I mean, literally, that's what happened to Annapurna. Anyone who touches Ubisoft, EA, or fucking... Who the fuck? Why is it not coming to me? Oh my god. Capcom! Capcom Konami! Anyone who's in a CEO role who touches them, they move somewhere else. It's the end of times. Oh, Rip City, Annapurna. I know they're still around, but their guarantee of quality isn't. After T-posing, who knows? Who knows anymore? Oh, that's fun. That was fun. Yeah, I would agree, Rifna, that in general, well, the thing about the Remedyverse that I would say, this is where that line of like, is it indie or not becomes unfair, is like, it's not that long ago that Alan Wake was like 2 people, you know? But at the same time, I agree that it's a huge company. It's that money thing. It's how much money was this made with? Everything comes down to money, doesn't it? You know what? My hand hurts. Like, I just really felt it just then. So we're gonna move on. I didn't expect to play Hollow Knight the whole night, but I was getting into it and conversation was good. Oh, Baldur's Gate and Wizard. Yes. However, the story that how Larian got it is very interesting. If you haven't dropped a follow and you enjoyed tonight, well, this is usually what my channel is like. So just less people. So you should definitely follow. Yeah. Larian had to, I don't know, where you talk to Twitch about getting a refund for subscribing, Shaden. But Larian had asked for it way back in the day because Sven, their CEO, is loaded. But they had to like they literally had to make game after game after game to prove themselves. It's a long story. I'll tell it next time. For now, follow if you feel like it. I hope you do. It makes us feel squishy. And then let's go invade someone else. I'm gonna run immediately, so because I need to eat this chimichanga. It's already glue. So let us raid. Did anybody have a suggestion? Otherwise, we're going to simple because it's her anniversary subathon. Raid and fade. Her face is covered in stickers. Shelly, I remember when you did that. Is that common? Is that like a thing people do? All right, here we go. Everybody say congratulations when you get there. It's not a braid this time. It's congrats. You're awesome. And off we go. Bye-bye.